Welcome to the Medfield College Film Society's first annual field trip. This year, we're heading into the Greek Isles. It'll be an immersive trip where we'll get a taste of the famous Greek hospitality. We'll explore some haunted ancient ruins and meet the wildlife and take in the beauty of these islands on the Mediterranean. But before we embark, let's meet our society members. Andy Brown from North Carolina. How's it going, Andy?
Opa! Bam! That's the only Greek things I know. It's from Emerald. Opa and bam.
Well, I gotta tell you, Andy, they get a little wild in their festival season, so, let's just bring a good book, because we might need to go back to the hotel early.
They do, but I am here for it. I'm ready to party down with the Greeks. It should be a wild one.
Speaking of going back to the hotel early, my partner in travel for most of my life, where we went to Europe and couldn't go out at night because it was too dangerous, Michael, how's it going?
And see, it was true. See all that we missed out on.
I feel validated in my narrowing experience.
I don't feel quite so ripped off now. I'm good. My allergies are acting up. All these friggin' cats around here, man.
Oh, I tell you, you might as well get an extra booster shot before you go for dander.
I know.
Or whatever.
It's been a while, but I need one. Yeah.
Well, and, in the Queen City himself, the Presidente, the guy who owns a boat, likes to go into bays suspiciously on his own time, Mr. Robert McSwain. How's it going?
I'm just packing up my travel blanket and my first aid kit here.
I always say you got it before you leave the house. You got to have a good travel blanket.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, of course. Yeah.
Can't leave him without it. I'm Jeff Crawford, always ready for a new adventure. An eye for the finer things, I might say. A man of the ocean as well. So excited to shove off on this European tour on the Mediterranean. Michael, tell us where we're going.
Today we are talking about the 1964 Disney classic, The Moon Spinners, directed by James Neilson, a Disney vet who had directed episodes of Zorro and Wonderful World of Color. Also directed Moon Pilot, Bon Voyage, Summer Magic, The Scarecrow of Romney Marsh.
All of this we need to watch.
I know. all of them.
All of them we need to watch.
And The Adventures of Bullwhip Griffin.
Wow.
A big slate there. He'll be big in our future at some point. Written by Michael Dine, based on the book by Mary Stewart, with music, a soundtrack by Ron Grainer, a British composer who did the theme for Doctor Who and also The Prisoner.
Yes, he did. He also did a movie called Only When I Larf.
What?
And To Sir With Love, Michael. So,
there you go.
What a career. But yeah, not a Disney guy, but quite a real British 60s guy.
Yeah, so. Big fixture. Yeah.
Only When I Larf.
Only When I Larf. Theme song by Terry Gilkyson, a folk singer who came to work for Disney and wrote a bunch of things, including The Bare Necessities, famously. Cool. And starring Hayley Mills. We're back on our Hayley Mills in her 5th of 6 films for Disney. The great Eli Wallach as a glary individual, who we shall meet later. Peter McInerney, Joan Greenwood, Irene Pappas, and Pola Negri. Pola Negri, a legendary silent film star, was very, very well-known celebrity for sort of femme fatale, exotic. She was from Poland originally. She was an exotic femme fatale back in the silent movie days. She had not made a film in 20 years, but Disney, like Walt Disney, literally begged her to come out of retirement to be in this.
That's funny.
So I don't know if Walt had a thing for her back in the 20s when she was this sex symbol or something. He had a flame for her from back in those days or what. But he personally appealed to her. He brought her out to California and appealed to her to please be in the movie because she was reluctant to do it. And they sent her to England. He's like, "Don't worry, I'll take care of everything. All you have to do is act. So they center this was filmed in Crete and at Pinewood Studios in England.
And that's like not the only time he did that, right? With an old film star.
Yeah, you've got in a lot of movies they'll bring out sort of older individuals. And in Pollyanna, you've got Adolphe Menjou and people like that. Mm-hmm. So, but yeah, this is a deep cut. This was her last film, although she lived till 1987.
And back to Pinewood, King Arthur's Court, right? That's where they filmed that.
Oh, yeah.
Well, Andy, I'm gonna go out on a limb and think you have not seen the Moon Spinners.
I had never seen the Moon Spinners. I have now, of course, but I had no idea what I was getting into. And I was really into this thing.
I was wondering if you would be.
Because, there's a lot of... I'm a big Hitchcock fan, and so there was a lot of shadows of Hitchcock in this.
Definitely.
But I will say this, like the beautiful coastline of Crete, I know they do a lot of cliff diving there, and this movie takes a cliff dive near the end. And so, yeah, it wasn't all just... it wasn't all just beautiful waters, and there's some issues with it. So I'm looking forward to talking about it.
We're just gonna have to talk about that, yeah. But it's very different than the kind of middle of the road Medfield fare, I would say.
Definitely,
this is a far departure. Yeah.
You hadn't seen this one, Robert, had you?
I have not seen it at all. Yeah. And I don't want to give away too much here, but I'm probably in the same boat with Andy.
We're giving it away, guys. We're giving it away. We should just get into this thing. So, Andy, you have the first watch, you can say. Will you take us into the world of the Moon Spinners?
Distributed by Buena Vista. I've become fond of this intro.
Oh, yeah.
When I see this one, I'm like, okay, I like this already.
It's so varied. I love that about the Buena Vista one. It's like, always a little different.
And boy, what an intro, because the music immediately pulled me in.
Come on. Yes.
I was right there. But I have to admit, I was confused by the windmills, because I was like, this is an odd music combination for Holland. Because apparently that's all I know about windmills. Yeah, we got this kind of Mediterranean gypsy sounding music going on. I was really into it. And as the credits roll, we find out that, of course, this movie was shot on location on the Greek island of Crete. And we're treated to some beautiful shots of the Crete landscape and the Crete people doing their thing with boats and whatnot, and some Greek ruins.
What do you guys think of that opening?
Well, yeah, I was gonna say but I want to go back to the music real quick before, because the lyrics: "Moon spinners, spin me a moon tonight. Moon spinners, spin it with a silver light. Spin it on the sea, let the waters glow. Shine it on the treasures lying far below." So yeah, what did you guys think of that?
I was so thrilled. The location shot, the kind of exotic climate, the balalaikas and windmills. Come on. The song was really funny to me, the lyric, but the tune I thought excellent. It's very moody, so it's like kind of happy, but the melody is kind of spooky. The arrangement's really spooky, so...
Yeah, it is.
It's setting the stage for something.
Definitely.
And I was looking for clips to put into our teaser. I heard this song, and I was like, well, I just got to put the song in, because I thought the song was amazing. Like, it just, it blew my socks off. But I mean, I think the opening is just the static shots were kind of boring. I mean, they were aesthetically, they looked good, but I mean, I just kind of felt like they were really slow paced, and I don't know, maybe I was wanting more, but
What were you wanting?
well, I mean, we've seen stuff, but I mean, their openings before, like, well, I mean, it's kind of, I guess we can't really compare it to Herbie, but I guess that were more gripping for me and pulled me into the story more quickly than just slow pans. And
For me, it felt like they were like, we're getting our money's worth out of going on location. Like, we're going to shoot all this stuff and use it. So it's like, yeah, we're here. We're here for real.
I guess I wanted more shots and at a faster pace, maybe, than just one every, like it felt like every 10 or 15 seconds.
What I got was, I felt like this is a different kind of movie. This is not a silly, just your silly family, Herbie like movie. This is something different. And I think I don't know, to me it fit. I thought it was fine. I was okay with it. But it's kind of funny that you mentioned Herbie, because in the next scene, once the intro credits are over, I kind of like, man, Herbie should show up right about now.
There's so much Herbie similarity in this scene. Totally.
Yeah. He could have fit in down there.
We've got this bus traveling on the road that's hugging the Crete coastline, and it's loaded down with cargo, honking its horn at people in the middle of the road riding donkeys, because apparently that's everywhere in Crete. And it's a rather crowded bus too, full of travelers, two of which are English ladies, Frances Ferris, played by Joan Greenwood, and her niece, Nikki Ferris, played by the great Hayley Mills. Well, like I said, this bus is so crowded that some of the folks are having to stand in the aisle, one of which is a man holding a smelly dead fish that happens to be swinging in front of Nikki's face constantly. Poor Nikki tells her Aunt Fran that she thinks she's about to be sick, so her aunt gives her some smelling salts to distract her until they reach their destination. Well, it's not enough for her, so they swap seats so that Nikki can get some air and stick her head out the window like a dog. Fran, in the most English way, asks the man if he could put the fish somewhere else, but he doesn't seem to understand them and lets the fish continue to dangle in their faces.
This is totally the bus from Herbie Goes Bananas, though.
It is. Yes.
It really is. I love that they couldn't, I don't know if they weren't allowed, I'm sure they were allowed to say it, but they didn't say, I'm going to be sick, or I'm going to throw up. She's like, I'm going to be whoa.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, you can't say it. It's too delicate to say.
Well, Fran again tries to distract Nikki, saying she should try and recite the Jabberwocky. And she's like, remember the illustrations. I was like, this is odd. Maybe that was a thing. Don't know.
It's very British.
Yeah.
Let's close your eyes and think of the Jabberwocky.
Luckily, the ladies arrive at their stop soon and depart the heavily crowded bus with their belongings, and they ride into town on donkeys that a local kid has provided for them, just as a local wedding is taking place.
Side saddle donkey riding looked really...
the side saddle donkey riding looked so dangerous.
And uncomfortable and just awkward. And
I mean, they were barely maintaining their balance on top of those donkeys. I'm like, you're very genteel with your side saddle, but you may just want to bite the bullet on this one.
Well, I mean, they're British though, but I kept thinking, I wonder how many takes they did, how many times they fall off of them.
I know. Well, when that bus leaves, it peels out and kicks up a huge cloud of dust and rocks on Hayley Mills. Yeah. She's just caught in the crossfire.
I just kept having like visions of Hayley Mills being like a complete diva and yelling and cussing and screaming at PAs.
This kid, very Paco adjacent.
Yes, man. There are some reflections of that in there. It's crazy how there's little things like that keep popping up. So anyways, so they've come into town, and the whole town is turned out for this wedding that's taking place, and they join them. They welcome them and say, join the celebration. And I mean, I gotta admit, I thought this was awesome. I just really liked the whole wedding scene. I liked the parade. I liked the costumes or the clothing that they're wearing, the music, the people. I mean, everything just looked very, very authentic. And I'm sure it was. They just got a bunch of locals and said, let's do this.
It's funny you say that because I just wrote that it feels so much not like a Disney movie. It's pretty wild at this point. So it's funny that you and I too. I mean, I thought it was really amazing. It feels, I don't know. Part of it feels like a documentary because it just feels very real at the wedding part. You know, it feels just like you're there, but it also just feels like something out of a different studio. So very cool little difference here.
Definitely. Well, the wedding party parades through the streets of this small Crete village, seaside village. And the young boy, Alexis, like you said, Paco adjacent, points to his family's hotel. And a closer shot reveals that the hotel's name is the Moon Spinners. And it's run by Alexis's mother, Sophia. Sophia is prepping for the wedding party who are coming to the hotel to have their reception, and she needs some help. So she calls upon her brother Stratos, who's resting in his room. But,
What? What do you want from me?
with a book over his eyes and a cigarette in his mouth.
Yeah, is he reading your book, Michael? I wrote that down. It looks like your book, Michael.
It does. It did.
The primer?
I didn't
Is that
even think about that. But
Yeah,
it did.
he's reading your book. Smoking.
Do not bother me while I'm reading these fascinating stories of Disney history.
Can't believe this auto train.
Stratus is not interested in helping at all, even though it is their cousin who got married. And we find out that Stratus has been living abroad in London for a while, but has recently returned home unexpectedly. And since he's returned, he's been kind of a jerk. He doesn't want any guests staying at the hotel. He's got some sort of cat and mouse game going with this other Englishman who happens to be there, this old Englishman, they say. But and he's also been. I was just saying he's also been really getting into astrology, and and now that I get that part because I mean we're in like the early '60s, and he was in swinging London for a while. So
Age of Aquarius, man. Yeah,
Well, I was going to
absolutely.
say, imagine Stratos in 1964 London, like Carnaby Street,
right.
and he's in the middle of a hard day's night, and it's just sour Stratos.
Why are they screaming?
I keep imagining the opening scene of Austin Powers, and then Stratus standing there, being like, "What's going on?"
Glaring.
Just glaring silently
Yeah,
with
man.
a
So,
cigarette.
yeah, we've said in all the lead up to this, there's a lot of glaring. This man is always be glaring, man. He is tightly wound, guys.
He is. And so much of his problems could be avoided by just chilling out.
Oh
Like,
yeah,
people wouldn't ask questions if you would just chill out and be like a nice, like everybody else is like, ha ha, welcome. Just be a happy Greek dude.
He's like,
and no
what
one's gonna
are you
bug
doing here?
Yeah. You instantly invite questions.
Yeah,
Who let you stay here? No, you must go.
He's so sweaty.
he's
He is
so
so
sweaty.
Yes.
Now, did that come naturally, or did they have to like sweat him pre every take? I feel
I
like
think
it's
it's natural talent.
It looks like
That's-
natural
method
glow.
acting. Yeah,
I got a set sprayer.
yeah.
Stratus does not like that his sister has been so observant watching him, and he warns her to stay out of his business.
Are you watching me?
He says if she does, she'll have all the money she'll ever need. But Sophia asks how's that possible? Because she's like, I mean, how's that even possible? And he's like, by staying one step ahead of chance, which she rebukes, the chance or the law. So right then we get our first little bit of what's going on with this guy?
But hold on. Can we talk about this place they're at? Because I want to live there. I thought I wanted to live there until later, and then I saw another place I wanted to live. But man, these sets are amazing.
Yeah,
Yes.
production design in this movie is really bringing it. This whole
Yes.
place is like fantastic, and you know the indoor outdoor go out on a balcony and you're out by the bay there.
Levels, a lot of levels.
So many levels. It's like, and it's all in that sort of white, I guess stucco. I guess is what it is.
Yeah.
But yeah, like Xanadu House of the Future, but themed to Greece.
Right.
Stratus doesn't like any of this at all. And before Sophia leaves him, she tells him to go to church because that astrology stuff is works of the devil. Amen, sister.
All I could think of was Kathy Bates and the Water Boy.
Yeah, that's the devil.
Astrology is the devil.
Well, meanwhile, the wedding party has arrived and the celebration has begun. There's another man at the hotel, and I'm not sure I ever caught who he was, but he seems to glare at Nikki too, and her aunt as they come in, and as if he's not happy they're there either. And
It's
so we got two like scowling Greeks.
like, did they have a first cut of this where like there wasn't the glaring, and then they like went and recut it? They're like, I don't know if these guys seem suspicious enough. Like, we might need to like turn it up a little bit. Maybe there should be a couple of extra shots, because it seems like there's just all these cutaway shots. Like,
It's got a very
out of my
James.
house.
It's got a very James Bond kind of thing going on.
Yes,
where
that's
when,
yeah.
making a
that's
mess. Yeah, there's
Yeah.
a lot of there's
when there's a henchman who sees a James Bond and like starts glaring at him and watching him, and he's going to go run and tell somebody else. And
yeah.
Yeah.
Immediately,
Aside
that's the
from
vibe.
like the Hitchcock vibes of this movie, there's also a lot of James Bond vibes too.
Yes.
Well, Aunt Frances notices the hotel name, and Alexis tells them that the Moon Spinners is from an old song. He then calls out to his mother that they have two visitors from England, two nice old ladies. And Nikki and Fran are...
I mean, yeah. Here's one thing. She reserved the hotel, but they didn't know the name of it. Now they're suspicious.
Right. Okay. Thank you. I'm glad you said it. Yeah. So Nikki and Fran are offended that they were called old, but then they find it amusing. And then Sophia comes over, and this other man, they kind of exchange like some more glances, and they like something's going on. And then she comes to greet Nikki and Fran, but rather coldly, I might add. And then Fran introduces herself, asking if she had received their telegram that Nikki had sent the day before, just like Jeff said. But then Sophia is confused, saying that there was no telegram. And then to me, she like looks over at this other dude. And I think it's like one of these things where Sophia realized that this other guy received the telegram, but just didn't tell her or something like that. I don't know. I was trying to figure out how all that played
Yeah, I
out.
couldn't quite figure out Sophia's game at this point. Like,
Yeah. But Sophia's like, she rather rudely informs them that there are no rooms available to them, which surprises Alexis, who's very glad that there's there.
I mean, if you were to go to a hotel that you may or may not have a reservation at, probably don't if you don't know the name of it. And you get there and they're like, there's no rooms. There's no rooms. There's no rooms. What are you doing here? Like, you'd be like, we should really stay here. We've got to like push this through.
We're gonna like stick to our guns.
Yeah.
And really, it really is just a hilariously sort of imperial England
Yes.
sort of like, we are going to sleep in the lobby if you don't let us stay
Right.
here, and you people.
Yeah.
It's
Francis,
pretty funny.
it's a pretty cringe-worthy moment because Francis follows, like you guys were saying, follows Sophia, demanding that if they can't stay there, then she should find a room for them somewhere else in the village. Even they were demanding that much.
Oh, yeah.
And even Alexis is like, he's like, well, Mom, why can't they just stay here? Why can't you just give them one of the empty rooms? And she kind of shushes him away.
Yeah, he's not helping the fight. He's like, we got lots of empty rooms.
Chill out, Paco.
And Nikki and Fran insist that they must be given her one of those rooms. And like you said, if they're not given one, they're just going to sleep right there in the hotel lobby floor. It's like, check your privilege there, lady.
Oh, for sure.
Come on. Well, Sophia finally gives in. Once she looks at Alexis and she knows how happy it'd make Alexis, so she gives in. And with a smile, she tells them that they can stay in one of the room upstairs. And as for food, Nikki says, she'd be fine with anything. But then it keeps going. Aunt Fran's like, I want a 3-course dinner.
yeah.
And Nikki's like, shut up.
Yeah, what?
Oh, then the strange dude comes over to talk to Sophia. And now my Greek is a bit rusty, but I'd say he wasn't happy with her for letting the two outsiders have a room. But Sophia shuts him down pretty quickly. Well, then upstairs, Alexis is showing the ladies to their room, saying it's the very best room with nice beds, nice table, nice chairs. and he opens the balcony doors to a nice expansion and a beautiful overlook of the Mediterranean Sea. Yeah, I was smitten with that too. I was like, I want to go here.
Place.
Yeah, that was
Amazing.
nice.
Incredible.
But
Nice
again, this
expansion.
attitude they have of like, it's like you're drawing way more attention to your shenanigans by being weird about everything than you would be if you were just like jolly hosts and like, let's, we'll book you a tour up in the mountains tomorrow and get you out of here.
Right.
And I mean, it's
That
just
seemed-
because I mean they're clearly they're not MI5 agents or anything.
Well, the other thing
Clearly.
is, like, how often is Stratos engaged in his henching? And we'll find out not very often. So, like, what? I mean, couldn't there be something, like you said, for like 15 minutes to
Yeah.
cover up what he's doing? It's like, I need
He just
quiet
kind of
all day long.
potters around
Leave me
most of the
alone.
time anyway. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it just seems to be an ongoing theme. Just the drawing more attention than necessary to yourself.
Love it.
I mean, the next thing he can do is start walking around like a trench coat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, come on, man. Well, Nikki is wondering why Alexis's mama didn't want them staying with her. And he says it's because of his uncle Stratos, who since coming back from London doesn't like anyone. But it's okay because Alexis likes them both. So everything's okay. It's a really cheerful kid. I was okay with it. I could see how he could get annoying if we had too much of Alexis, but I was okay with Alexis at this point.
Yeah.
Okay. Maybe that's just me.
I
Well, just-
mean, yeah.
Yeah. Well, the strange man, this other strange dude, he comes in with their luggage and he refuses a tip from Fran walking away. But Alexis is like, are you crazy? And he gladly takes the tip.
Keep your king's money. I don't want it.
Well, suddenly Uncle Stratus barges in, suspiciously demanding to know what they're doing there. And we find out that Aunt Frances is a musicologist who collects folk songs. And that's what has brought them to the village. Stratus agrees to let them stay, but he says they must leave the next day on the bus. And I think they say something about this Cretan hospitality, and they kind of like laugh.
Yeah. They have a little like session after he leaves. Like, can you believe these people? Like, I did like the background of her being a musicologist, though. I thought that was an interesting.
That was really
kind of
clever.
character.
I thought, yeah, surprising.
Because apparently they had heard about this village and from the other place that they were staying, and someone told them about it. And then they made arrangements to come here.
And they keep it up later. I mean, they follow through. It's not
Yeah.
just a throwaway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, after the two unpack, Nikki goes out on the balcony and notices a handsome, well-tanned man returning in his boat to the dock just outside the hotel. The strange dude who we've been kind of seeing hanging around, we find out his name is Lambus, and he helps this young Englishman back from the boat onto the dock. And when asked what he's been up to by Lambus, this young fella says that he's been skin diving, spearfishing in the Bay of Dolphins. Then the movie takes a mysterious turn, I think, at this point. Because so far we've just kind of seen some glares and stuff, but then the music cue immediately just turns dark. And this young man says to Lambus, "And how much did you see?" accusing him of watching and following him. Then he walks off. And so when that happened, I was like, whoa. So what's going on here? This movie is very different than what I'm expecting.
Yeah. Like when you compare it to like pretty much any of the other movies from this era, like
Right.
compare this to Absent-Minded Professor. This is a different kind of movie for sure. Because it is like high suspense and high drama. And I mean, this British guy clearly not playing his cards close to his vest, because he's like, I know I'm doing things and I know you're watching me do things. And so
There's a lot of not playing cards close to the vest, as we've already said, but it's funny with these two, Stratos and him, how that one of them does something and the other one's like, and then like a minute later they're like, goes running after it. Yeah.
Well, this Englishman has caught Nikki's attention.
Oh boy.
She's suddenly very interested
Thirsty.
in him. and she's interested in dressing up and getting downstairs to join that wedding celebration as soon as possible. Well, soon thereafter, the ladies arrive downstairs, and Nikki quickly spots the striking young Englishman, who she points out to her aunt as the old Englishman, and they kind of chuckle, and Frances agrees that he's very charming. And then this young man, he notices them too, and he comes over to introduce himself. And then they kind of have to go to a more quiet area because this party is like rocking.
This is a bumping party.
Really?
So they go find a more quiet place to talk, and he introduces himself as Mark Camden, and he invites them to join him for dinner. Well, while serving drinks, Uncle Stratus notices that the three have kind of found each other, and now he's even more suspicious. I mean, how much more could you turn up the glare?
Well, much more, I guess.
Yeah, probably so. But the three English travelers chit-chat about Greece for a bit until the nervously excited Nikki brings up Uncle Stratus. And now she's surprised how she's surprised that he let Mark stay in the hotel as well as that, just like he let them stay. Well, Mark says that Stratus is an odd man who is constantly poring over astrology books and has charms and fetishes like a witch doctor. Then they kind of share a laugh about how it would take a witch doctor to improve Stratus's mood. And then Alexis returns to their table with a platter of food, which has an octopus's tentacle, and he kind of starts teasing Nikki with it. It's like, here you go, have this.
I wondered if that was like scripted or not, because I love her reaction. He's like, hey, I have some octopus. And she's like, blah. It's a funny reaction.
Yeah, it is. I want to know what's in that little crock pot he's got going on all day and night over there in the like pizza oven.
Yeah, right.
That's what they need to get into.
All right, let's establish some age. How old is Nikki? How old is Hayley Mills in this?
The eternal question.
I think she was 18. Because
really?
I was looking at some reviews of it from the time, and they were extraordinarily creepy, like these like newspaper reviews of these guys, like Hayley Mills blossoming at 18. It's like really unpleasant. But yeah,
I really
so
like
she's
her
in that
creepy
range.
60s newspaper voice though.
Yeah.
It lost me at 18. All right, what about Mark though?
I don't know.
20,
Like early 20s, right?
3,
Early 20s.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what I'd say. Yeah.
Okay. That's about where I was thinking too. I just want to make sure it wasn't just me.
It's not like a Hayley Mills, Ingrid, that darn cat age difference.
No.
Good call. Well, so yeah, they're talking about having dinner, and Alexis has brought him the octopus tentacle and everything. Well, meanwhile, Lambus and Stratus are talking about the three travelers, and Lambus points out that Stratus knows who Mark really is. I was like, oh man, this is getting good. And he's saying he knows why he's there, but Lambus doesn't understand why Stratus doesn't just send Mark away. But Stratus has other plans concerning Mark for later that evening. Well, the partying and the dancing continues as the three Brits sit at a table, and Stratus brings them some drinks. Now, he's kind of cool in this moment. He's like laid back.
Yeah, it's
Stratus
so weird.
is.
It's like if he'd been like this the whole time, no one would say anything.
Yeah.
It's like, hey.
He's like, hey, welcome to Crete. Well, Stratus brings him some drinks, and then Fran asks him why the hotel is called the Moon Spinners, because I guess she wasn't satisfied with Alexis's answer. Well, Stratus says it's from a legend of the three sisters who spin the full moon. But Mark says that he heard that it has something to do with a sunken treasure in a ship at the bottom of the Bay of Dolphins. And Stratus, he's playing it cool, saying that there are many tales like this in Crete. But Mark kind of keeps pushing him, and he's saying that, as he understands it, when the moon is full, you're supposed to be able to see the treasure at the bottom of the bay, and then turns to look at Stratus, asking him directly if he thinks there are any treasures at the bottom of the bay. Well, Stratus mysteriously replies that there are sharks and many dangerous octopus among the rocks, warning Mark not to go swimming there. But Mark points out that he frequently sees Stratus there in his boat, and Stratus just gives him this reply saying, "Let us hope I do not fish you out one day without an arm or leg."
Nobody has any chill in this. Nobody. They're just putting it all out there.
They are. They really are. And I was, they didn't show Nikki and Fran at this point, but surely they've got to be like looking at each other like, what's up with these two?
Right. Like, what is happening? Yeah.
Well, sweet Alexis invites the three to come meet the bride and groom. And as a gift from Fran, she wants to give them a scarf that Nikki gave her earlier. She's going to re-gift it. And she asked Nikki to go back to the room and retrieve it and also get Fran's tape recorder to record the music. But when Nikki goes back to the room, she finds Stratus in their room going through their belongings. And Stratus makes up a lie saying that he's come up there to get some of his books since, that's what I was doing.
Not very believable.
Yeah. This used to be my room, Yeah, that's right. Well, Nikki clearly doesn't believe him, and she's even more suspicious of him when he suggests that Mark is an old friend of theirs, which, of course, isn't true since they had just met him. But then Stratus leaves, and Nikki soon rejoins the wedding celebration to dance to the festive music. Well, Mark and Nikki are dancing, and they notice Stratus and Lambus watching them again. And now they're catching on a little bit because Nikki even says to Mark, she's like, they're staring at us again.
I love how they're just like 2 and 2 groups of 2 and 2 just standing staring at each other at a distance.
This is when Stratus is wearing the members only jacket.
Yes!
I love that.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
He had a wardrobe change. Well, Nikki lets on to Mark that she thinks there's something pretty sinister about the whole family, except for Alexis, of course. But she can tell there's something up. Changing the subject, Mark invites Nikki to go swimming with him the next day in the Bay of Dolphins, and she, being smitten with him, she readily accepts. Then, in an odd moment, Mark and Nikki decide to just shatter the whole Greek tradition dancing thing, and they just decide to really let go and begin doing the twist.
I love this.
Which was like strange because it confused me. It confused the other wedding guests, but then they seemed delighted by it.
They're into it. They're everybody starts doing the twist.
And back behind the hedge, though, there's Stratus and Lambus just still staring. Just these young people having fun. Well, the wedding celebration is winding down, and the guests begin to leave. Mark and Nikki make final arrangements for meeting up the next morning, and they look up at the moon, discussing its brilliance. It turns out that Marky kind of pegs Nikki as a romantic. And just before parting, he says the moon spinners must be working full time tonight. Well, Nikki heads off to bed, but Mark turns quickly as if he's about to head off on a secret mission. He's like, whoop, whoop, and takes off running. But before he can, Stratus calls out to him and invites him to go night fishing with him while he's kind of holding this menacing
You want to
looking,
go night fishing with me?
like this two-pronged spear. Looks like Aquaman standing here.
Yeah.
Mark declines watches Stratus get in his boat that takes off across the water. Then suddenly, Mark takes off running.
There we go.
We don't know where he's going, though, but we just know he's
pattern.
going somewhere enough fast. But then, to make it even more mysterious, here comes Lambus out of the shadows, and he starts following him from a distance while carrying a rifle.
Yeah, what kind of rifle is this?
Like a World War II rifle.
Yeah. World War One, maybe. I mean,
Yeah, I was
World
gonna say
War
World
One.
War One. Yeah, a
Up
lot
in
of
there-
wood. A lot of wood.
Carbine.
It looked like, speaking of The Godfather, it looks like something that, when they're watching Michael, when Michael's in Sicily.
Oh yeah, he's up in Sicily.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, up in their room, Nikki is brushing her hair, talking with her aunt about how she wishes that she could do something with her face to improve her allure.
I wish I had what the magazines call allure.
There's also this strange, I don't know, did you guys notice this? It was on the Disney Plus version. There's a strange film defect that happened at that very moment. Did you all see that?
I thought that was weird. I was like, do you guys not have a perfect print of that? I thought that was strange.
Yeah, they could have taken that out, especially like a digital remastering of it or something. Anyways, the two go on about Nikki's looks, and they talk about Mark inviting her to go swimming with him. When Fran says that she thinks he has a mysterious quality about him too. They turn out the light, and the two head off to sleep. But just as they do, we jump back to following Mark in a rather awful day for night scene.
Yeah.
Yes, that's what I was getting. I was waiting for you to get back so I could point that out. That it was the cinematography was horrible for this day for night shots. I was so irritated about it.
Yeah, it was pretty bad. And Mark has been running up the coast following Stratus to the Bay of Dolphins, we assume. And Mark climbs down the cliffs closer to the water to get a better look to see what Stratus is up to. But Mark, he disturbs some rocks, and Stratus hears him, and he turns his spotlight on that he has out in his boat to find him. And inexplicably, Mark is jumping back and forth between boulders. It's like, dude, just stay still.
Yeah. Hit the dirt.
He hops over here. He's like a rabbit. And just then Lambus arrives, and he's got his rifle, and he's like, all right, I'm going to shoot this guy. And we don't really know why, but he takes a shot at Mark, and he misses the first time, but then the second time he hits him, and he sends Mark into the water. So then at that moment, Lambus and Stratus move in closer. Stratus is in his boat, of course, and Lambus from the cliff, but they don't see Mark anywhere on land or water. And guys, this thriller is starting to heat up.
Yeah.
As this
Mark
brings
has a couple of falls in this movie that really call for a Dean Jones. Whoa. And this was one of them.
It was a different movie. Yeah.
Yeah.
We need to do a re-edit for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this brings Act 1 to a close.
So back at the hotel, Nikki is making some small talk and is told that Mark has split. He's left town. He's scrammed on the morning bus. As she leaves, Stratos does some solid balcony glaring and then gets some freshly purchased collared shirts from the drawers from Mark's room.
Yeah. I mean, but my man Stratos has some starch in his shirt. Those things are...
Yeah, they could stand up on their own.
That's right. He's a fresh, albeit sweaty.
So he's going through Mark's room and he's filling up Mark's suitcase. He pauses to glare at his passport. Passport. He's not married. On the beach, Nikki finds a shoe but thinks nothing of it and wanders up.
Yeah, what is it?
Oh, there's a shoe here.
Never mind.
Thinks nothing of it and tosses it back into the sand and wanders up the hill to a chapel. She takes in some wall paintings in the chapel and of various saints and holy figures until she notices some blood on the floor.
Boom! I'm in again. I'm right here. I'm like, this is great.
The design of this chapel is really cool.
This leads her to a bloody handprint on a door jamb now.
Double boom! I'm double in now. I'm really in. I'm digging this movie at this point.
She follows the trail down a spiral staircase into a crypt. She walks up to the coffins when suddenly, without cause, a bloody hand shoots into frame. Dun!
That actually got me. I have to say, they did a good job of keeping it. It got really quiet before that. It's not like it was like building up. The score was doing really well, but the bloody hand was like, ah.
Oh, I got to tell you, I mean, the shot it's effective for suspense. But I just found it a bit ridiculous. I mean, I've never never been in a situation where I've been hurt and wanted to shoot my hand up into the air.
Absolutely ridiculous.
Like, hey.
Yeah. But, I mean, it felt very much of the era. I mean, there's.
Oh yeah, I mean that was Hitchcock. That's what it felt like.
But a lot of blood already. This is also unusual. This is like I mean, Treasure Island's the only place we've seen blood to this point, and
that's a good
not
point.
much. It's like ketchup.
Yeah. So Mark falls over from behind a tomb and startles Nikki. She attends to him and sees that he's been shot.
It's a weird wound, though.
Yes,
it's a weird arm wound because it's like he got shot like direct on his arm, like straight in on his shoulder or something. Like, I don't know. It's just kind of funny the way it is.
Mark is being very vague at this point, doesn't want any help from doctors or anyone to know that he's there.
Very vague.
He sends her back for some clothes and a bottle of brandy. So Nikki arrives back at the hotel to see Stratos throwing back some shots. In Mark's room, she finds all of his stuff is gone.
I just want to add one other thing, though. Before he sends her back, though, she like gives him a thermos, and suddenly he has no problem using that arm to hold the thermos.
There's a lot of that coming. Yeah, there's a lot of what about the arm in our future.
Yeah.
She sneaks around upstairs, just missing being seen by Stratos, and grabs a few items from her room. Down in the restaurant of the hotel, Aunt Frances is recording a very low energy recording of the song Moon Spinners being sung. So, Jeff, how would you describe the vibe of this recording here?
It's just, it's too early. I used to say there's no good music made before 11 o'clock in the morning. And clearly they're violating some protocol here.
It's like the little old ladies guild.
Yeah.
It's the old ladies from Three Amigos from Santa Poco.
But I bet, they thought this lady was crazy, whether or not in real life or in fiction or somewhere in between. I'm not singing this Moon Spinner song.
Nikki sneaks past and over to the bar where she grabs the bottle of brandy, much to the confusion of one of the little old ladies. And in a screening room somewhere, Walt Disney puts down his Hormel chili and belly laughs for a solid 30 seconds.
This old lady's take is great.
Yeah.
And I don't even know if it was acting or not. But
it was unexpected, too. I was like, this is a strange beat. I mean, I'm enjoying this comedy beat, but it was strange for it to happen.
It was, I was like, she's gonna like yell and Hayley Mills will get caught. No, it's just a little bit of
whatever the Greek equivalent of Dios mío is.
Yeah.
Ay, Dios mío. Ay. Nikki gets out undetected, stops to pick up the shoe off the beach, that's thoughtful of her. Aunt Frances stops to question Stratos about her missing her traveling rug, what's a traveling rug? I think I called it a blanket earlier, but it was a traveling rug. So,
yes.
Like a flying carpet.
And she mentions that her first aid kit was missing. So Stratos is Stratos is a grouch and doesn't want them there. So why is Frances talking to him? I mean, it seems like she should be talking to Alexis or his mom. I don't know why she's approaching Stratos with all of her questions. But
yeah, he is not the valet. He does not care. And he probably just stole them to begin with. So he's not going to tell you.
Stratos becomes suspicious and heads off to investigate. In the crypt, Nikki finds Mark sleeping in one of the unoccupied tombs. Mark takes a few quick tugs on the brandy bottle, and Nikki fixes him up, sort of. Nikki keeps pressing Mark, and Mark keeps saying to butt out.
I'll tell you what, if I was Mark, I'd take off those pants. They look really tight and painful. It's like if I've got this blaster wound he has, take off the pants, man, or at least just unzip the top.
I know you gotta do like this after Thanksgiving dinner sort of comfort move because, those are too tight to be lounging around in.
Crypt.
Something I thought of was, we were talking about how it has a James Bond feel. He has a similar suit that James Bond has. All he needs was he has that gray with the gray suit with the white shirt. All he needed was a black tie, and he would have looked just like him.
Yeah, that's a good point. I like the line where she's like, should I dig something out of like the wound? He's like, no. It's like, no, just leave it. Leave it in there.
But this is so dark for a Disney movie.
Yeah. It is so dark. And it's funny to me, like, Nikki's participation in this darkness. I wrote Robert last night. It's like Nikki is kind of, and this will be more later, she's kind of like the dude in The Big Lebowski, where she just like keeps working her way into these situations and just kind of is just like, well, what? You gotta stop that. I don't know. And it's like, what?
She just kind of like relentlessly upbeat no matter what happens.
Yes.
Like, well, here we are.
Yeah.
Another...
Get you to a doctor. What is going on?
I just want like the bigger Nikki metaverse where she's just always like, we see the rest of her life and it's always stuff like this.
Yeah.
Just bumbling into things by accident.
Right.
Gosh, that's a good point, because then that means Aunt Fran is Walter.
Yeah.
Alexis is Donnie.
Stratus is a nihilist.
Yes, Stratus is the nihilist.
Who's Maud?
Sophia, or maybe Maud's the who's the silent movie star coming up?
Habib.
Yes.
All right, so Mark tells Nikki to leave, and but she wants to help. Mark tells her to shove off, and much to her anger, she tells him she hopes he dies. I think is what something. I mean, it's kind of, come on, Nikki. On her way out, she bumps into Stratos outside the chapel. She gives him a horrible lie that she's been out gathering rocks. Stratos isn't buying it, and
Rocks.
I collect rocks, and I was out getting rocks. I carry them in my bag, but
Right
I
here.
did not find any rocks today.
She is like the perfect actress for this character. I think it's so funny. Like her, just the bumbling. It's just like, he's like, how many rocks did you get? She's like, none.
None, no rocks today.
No rocks.
Stratos isn't buying it, and he finds her first aid kit. Nikki continues to lie very badly about finding a shepherd and a broken leg, and the shepherd walked off even though the leg was broken, and it just, one thing leads to another, and Stratos heads to the chapel to find Mark. He calls out Nikki for being a bad liar and locks her in the chapel as he searches, pausing momentarily to cross himself as he passes by a painting of Jesus.
I thought that was funny. That was a nice touch.
Yeah. He sees the bloody handprint by the door and heads into the crypt. Nikki screams out for Mark to look out. Kind of sounded like Moochie. I'm sorry.
I was gonna say, was that Moochie?
My voice cracked on that one. Stratos finds Nikki's sweater and turns his anger onto her, interrogating her as to what she knows. He heads back to the hotel where he tells Aunt Frances that he hasn't seen her and gives some very bad lies on his behalf.
He cracks me up when he tries to like all of a sudden throw on this completely nice guy routine with Aunt Frances.
Yeah.
Welcome. It's so ridiculous.
Me and the boys, we'll all go look for her. Come on.
So Sophia begins to question why he told her that Mark had left and if he is still around. Some more bad lies and poor explanations later, he grabs 2 guns and leaves. Aunt Frances still doesn't seem to be too concerned. This guy is acting weird and running off with guns while her niece is missing. So, that's some red flags coming up here.
Yeah.
Sophia watches as Stratos and his goon leave with the guns, realizing that something is up with Mark and Nikki now. Mark is on the beach when he spots Stratos and his goon. He hears them say that this time they'll shoot to kill when they find Mark. Mark casually strolls up the hill where he finds Alexis playing a recorder, which this feels kind of like a scene out of King's Quest or something to me. I mean,
What's going on here?
Friggin' Paco. Of course, he's got a little recorder. Just toot, 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 toot,
He's
toot.
playing
I
into
was
a
up there on this
tree.
rock playing my recorder.
He's just facing a tree, playing it on his knees.
Mark sends Alexis back to the hotel to make sure Nikki and her aunt left. While riding a donkey by a windmill, he hears a girl scream, but the door is locked, but he discovers that Nikki is locked inside. Alexis, who's been brushing up on his American catchphrases, says, "For crying out loud, what are you doing in there?" So he runs off to get Mark to help him. That night, Frances is finally starting to get concerned as nightfall happens. She pleads with Stratus to call the police, which he quickly dismisses. Again, Aunt Frances isn't alarmed by this, that he doesn't want the cops involved.
Right.
Stratus yells at some more goons in Greek, and they all scatter.
Well, I thought this was hilarious because he essentially sends the whole restaurant out to find.
It's just like the whole posse that's just hanging out at the restaurant. It's like, come on, fellas, let's go.
Well, it's very much like Treasure Island. It's when Long John says, go get him, and they all chase after him.
Yeah.
Up in his room, Stratus is getting out some astrology maps and odd trinkets, while Sophia argues that she wants to know where Nikki is. She puts down her foot and says, "No more lies." We find out that Stratus has been bankrolling Sophia's hotel all these years. She continues to plead that he tell her what is going on with Nikki or she'll blab to the village. He threatens to off poor Alexis, and Sophia stops her questioning.
Yeah, so doesn't he threaten to smack her too?
Yeah, it takes a turn.
Yeah, it's kind of dark there. At the windmill, Alexis hops onto the windmill and hops into the window because evidently that's a real popular game that they play in Crete.
Some stunt work here.
Do you think it was that kid? Do you think the kid did his own stunt?
I don't know.
Surely not, but I wouldn't be surprised either.
You know who didn't do their own stunts? It was Hayley Mills.
Oh, definitely. That was a dude in a wig or something.
Yes.
Nikki happy to see Alexis, and Nikki gives him a hug, but there's no time for lovemaking.
Dr. Jones.
No time to make love, he said.
Yeah, no time to make love. Only way out of this.
Dr. Jones.
That's what I kept thinking. Yeah, that's what I kept feeling there. Yeah. The only way out of this windmill is on the windmill blades, and he jumps onto and slides down safely.
This feels like something out of a LucasArts adventure game.
It does, like Monkey Island game.
Yeah, like something.
Yeah, great. So we got a King's Quest and a Monkey Island. I mean, this is great.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Nikki tries but misses and dangles for a moment. Nikki's a stunt double. Tries and misses and dangles for a moment from the window. Alexis goes to look for Stratos, and Mark tries to go up the windmill, but his arm is too sore. Why isn't Alexis, who's the best windmill hopper in the world, evidently not hopping back up there and helping her get on that windmill?
Yeah, I know.
So Nikki jumps and gets stuck and goes around and around.
Pretty effective. There's some really not great, to say the least, rear projection, but that also fits within the Hitchcock vibe.
Yes.
Because Hitchcock loves some bad rear projection.
Mm-hmm.
It feels like a scene from what's that show that comes on ABC where people just do the obstacle course and just get messed up. You know, the
Ninja Warrior or
no, not Ninja Warrior. Wipeout. It feels like a scene of Wipeout where someone's they're flipping around doing all that, and she's screaming, and they're trying not to be found by Stratus, but she's screaming her head off. And it's golly, you're going to draw attention from everybody around.
Hey, there's a lady up on the windmill.
Yeah. Hey, look at the lady.
Peoples is peoples.
After some touch and go, she finally falls off and lands somewhat safely in Mark's arms. Mark gives her a big hug, but Alexis gets his line in one more time and says, "No time, make love. Let's go."
Yeah.
They don't do the rule of thirds.
We could do a Medfield bumper sticker with kind of stamped picture of him and that expression.
No time, make love.
Let's go.
He's got this Balky Bartakamus kind of thing going about him.
No time, make love.
Now we do the dance of joy.
Stratos comes up the hill just as they escape, and he goes up to find that Nikki is gone. Alexis runs back into town. And this is, again, some really bad day for night cinematography again. Nikki is mad at Mark for bossing her around and slaps him.
I like that. I was like, yeah, girl. Smack him.
They have a bit of a moment. She keeps nagging him to tell her what's going on. Whole I'm going to tell you what's going on plot line reminds me of the Poe Dameron Vice Admiral Holdo Last Jedi plot line. What's going on here? You don't need to know, but I want to know. But you don't want. But I'm not going to tell you. Why not? Because I don't want to. So
it kind of felt like, I don't know, for me, I know there's still like 50 minutes left in this movie, but it feels like, all right, we just did a climax and we should be kind of wrapping up now.
Yeah. Yeah. This is like 2 movies put together, kind of.
Yep.
It's another Last Jedi kind of similarity. Whoop! We're over here. Whoop! We're going up and whoop!
Mark tells Nikki to go away again. Just as she walks off, one of the goons jumps up with a gun. Nikki hears the commotion and distracts the goon just long enough for Mark to grab the gun and fight him. Nikki whacks the goon over the head, maybe or maybe not killing him because she heard his skull crack.
Which, first
He's
I was
fine,
like, way
don't
to
worry
whack
about
the
him.
dude with the gun, Haley. But then I was like, man, she's like, but I heard his skull crack. I was like, that
Again,
is
dark
Dark.
stuff.
Mark, his
man.
brains are oozing out of his ear.
Yeah.
He'll be fine.
Rub some
Mark
salt
again
on.
tells her to leave. Mark doesn't think he can make it. Nikki helps him down to the Temple of Apollo, which may or may not be haunted.
Yeah. So, I mean, are like the ancient ruins, are they just like unprotected all over? Just
guess
all over
so.
Crete. You just
Back
like,
then,
they're
I
like,
guess so, yeah.
here's another ancient ruin.
It's a different time, man.
Go around and find whatever you can find.
They go in to hide and find that cats are fighting everywhere.
Cats are being thrown around everywhere.
We get,
Yeah, we need
get
to talk about this for a second. What's the filming process like? You're the animal actor expert, Robert. What's and a cat guy? How do you get cats to act like this, Robert?
there was a Funny or Die skit. I think it was Funny or Die, where they had like a cat wrangler, and he was the cat wrangler on all the horror films. So whenever there was a tense moment, he was the one that threw the cat in the frame. So and the whole gist was just that he just had all these cats and he would just sit there just tossing them left and right. But that's what it was. I mean, I'm sitting there thinking this
movie was a big payday for those guys, for cat wranglers. And if your job is chucking cats at people, then this was your glory day.
But yeah, I mean, well, we haven't gotten to it, but there's one that's really bad. But I think I have it in my notes coming up here in a second. But
So what's he
but
doing
yeah,
to
yeah,
make
so we
the
get-
cats like go, I mean, that kind of thing?
I know,
I feel
real
like
close up faces of
Oh man, yeah.
furious cats.
They got, like,
yeah,
a
these are some
puppy or
angry
something
cats. I don't
to
think
hold
these are like the strays they grabbed and just dragged them in there. That's what it felt like. That these were not trained pets. They were angry cats.
Furious feral cats.
You're saying 5 out of 5 then for the cat acting.
Well, yeah, I don't know if they were acting. I would say that they were genuinely angry.
It was method.
So we get some cutaways of cats sitting around, and they're hissing at each other, and then they're, as we said, genuinely angry cats on camera. Nikki apologizes for all the trouble she's caused Mark. Mark finally decides to tell her the whole story, but she says, just tell me tomorrow. Because she's been begging him for... So
I'm telling you, this is the cliff dive. We're starting to see it.
Mhm.
he finally says he's going to tell her everything, and Nikki doesn't want to hear it. So, but anyway, Mark says he was framed for stealing some jewels, and he thinks Stratos was the real robber. Mark was working at a bank where he foolishly took some jewels out of the safety deposit box and took them to the owner. He got jumped on the way, and he's fairly certain Stratos was the culprit.
So at this time, I'm thinking like, that's just a bad story he's
Yeah.
telling, right?
I agree. Yep.
And didn't turn out that way, did it?
No.
disgraced Mark is out trying to set things right, he manages to track the jewels to a restaurant in Soho called the Moon Spinners. The owner left to go to Crete, and here we are in Crete.
It's pretty thin, though. I mean, like,
Absolutely.
really, why would he take this upon himself?
Well, so that's why I was thinking it was like a lie he was telling her.
Yeah.
So I was like,
That's what I
it's
was
so
thinking, yeah.
weak. Surely he is like the bad guy, right?
Yeah. It's like it's a
it's
it's
like
a
a
double switch or whatever you call
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
charade
Double
moment
switcheroo.
or
That's
whatever,
what I
yeah.
thought it was going to be. And then it was not.
Yeah,
But yeah.
it would have made more sense if it was a lie than if it was actually the truth, which it
Yeah.
turns out to be.
Now,
But
wouldn't
yeah,
that have
very
been
strange.
Cool? Wouldn't that have been cool if Stratus actually was a good person,
Right.
and he's trying to keep something safe from Mark?
Well, that's what I started to think.
That's
when
what I
it
was
was
thinking was gonna
happening.
happen, yeah.
This was happening. I was like, "Oh man, this is gonna be cool," because it's been so like ham-fisted with the glaring. But like, what if he's actually like Stratus is good?
That'd have been an interesting turn.
It was the Slytherin professor that was always
Snape?
kind of helping. Yeah.
Yeah.
Snape.
He's
Yeah,
a
it's gonna
Snape
be a-
figure.
The slithering professor,
You mean Slytherin?
Whatever. I'm not a Harry Potter guy.
Perry Potter.
Harry Potter.
Who's Harry Potter?
Yeah, no, not big
It's
into
the books
Perry
my
Potter.
grandma bought me. Isn't that what it's called? She got,
Yeah.
She got you
she
the
bought them when
knockoff
she was in
book.
China.
Ah, Slithering House.
Huh.
Professor
You're a-
Snake.
You're a wizard, Perry. Said Haggis.
That's all right. That sounds right to me. Is it something? Was it funny? I don't understand. Naturally, logic and reasoning has Mark thinking that Stratos has hid the jewels in the Bay of Dolphins, which again seems like a very poor hiding spot of all the places to hide jewels.
This is obviously an island full of nooks and crannies everywhere for
Yeah,
you to
and-
hide things.
And that's another thing. I mean, maybe we live in a world of like plot twists and insane plot twists, but I was like, is it really going to be in the Bay of Dolphins after all this?
Yeah,
It
right?
was. It was.
So Nikki and Mark settle in for some shut eye and cuddle ups, sort of, and that's a really awkward "once you lean on my shoulder" move. Stratus reluctantly heads into the ruins, but as he leaves, he hears some noises, but he is met with hissing cats as one just leaps out of nowhere and lands on him. And then suddenly
I love
cats
it
start
'cause-
being tossed at him left and right.
Yeah, intense, man. It comes
So good. In the first shot, because we get like cat noises, but then there's like a shot of him in like a Star Trek cave, and there are no cats to be seen, but it's just like cat noises. So I'm like, oh man, are they just gonna like not actually have cats, just have cat noises? But then no, the next shot they just start throwing them at him. It's beautiful.
one of the finest scenes in Disney cinema. I mean, it's up there.
So good.
Mark tells Nikki not to worry about all the cats screaming, and we see Stratos fleeing the ruins, almost stepping on a cat on his way out.
Yeah.
And we wrap up Act 2.
It's all right.
We fade up to daytime at the temple and we see a shadowy figure walking up to Nikki and Mark. Nikki grabs the rifle in defense, but it's someone else. Gotcha! It's a dapper man with a cane.
And it's also the slowest turnaround with a gun ever. She's like,
yeah.
she's like, take your time.
Whoa.
Not quick draw.
Now I have my gun on you.
He's, it turns out this man is the British consulate. Wants to know what they're doing. Well, what is he doing, I wonder?
What's all this then?
Yeah. Governor.
Well.
Yes, if they're in trouble. Nikki starts to tell the story, but Mark immediately starts to cover, saying there was a wedding and folks got a little drunk, so they cleared out. I mean, why is Mark so paranoid?
He's very suspicious for a freelance jewel detective, man.
A bank person.
Bank person. The consulate named Anthony Gamble Esquire Havashaw or whatever says he'll take Nikki away. Nikki says no way, they need to take care of Mark's wound. This is like an annoying negotiation to me of like everybody at cross purposes. Like, we've got to take care of the wound. It's like, well, it doesn't have to be mutually exclusive. You could also just leave, like, and take care of the wound anyway.
Because you are not going to do it.
Right.
Somebody else will do it.
Anthony says his wife is a registered nurse, so let's go.
I don't trust. I in my notes though, I immediately put, I don't trust this guy.
Well, yeah, I mean, so, and neither does Mark. Mark rightly asks him, what is he doing out here?
Mm-hmm.
And he says, well, I'm an amateur archaeologist, just wandering around,
pilfering antiquities illegally.
Mark is somewhat dubious of these claims, as is Andy and myself. And the three take off to a jaunty tune and drive back into town to quite the pad. Now, if the hotel was a high point, this is just through the roof. This place. Where did they find this place? Is this a set? Or, I mean, this is real? What is this?
I don't know, but it is
real.
fantastic.
It felt real to me.
Yeah.
It is super Bondy.
Very Bondy.
And it's so good.
Yeah.
I want to point out before they left the ruins, he just like, you don't need that gun anymore. And they're like, okay. And they just laid the gun down.
Just leave it. Yeah.
Just leave it. Why? Yeah. Okay.
Wow, look, a gun. I wonder if it's loaded.
So Cynthia, Anthony's wife, is there. They all seem very pleasant, I guess.
I mean, this is the Hitchcocky.
Oh, totally.
This is like the peak Hitchcocky moment of the movie,
Yes.
for sure.
Anthony says he's going to send for Nikki's aunt and walks off, and he starts to glare. He starts glaring. So, he goes through
like a zombie, or like that's how you know he's like a vampire or something. He's like, oh no, he's got the glare too. It's been infected.
He walks through a little shuttered door, which you're right. The Hitchcock is going through the roof here. And another room, sure enough, is Stratos. Dun, dun, dun. So they're in cahoots. Gamble says that Stratos has made a mess of this with all his bungling. Stratos calls him a chattering old maid and says he wants to know what he will do. So these two have a great back and forth. Gamble says that Stratos is clinging to astrology that has caused this whole problem. Stratos says Anthony needs to stay home and knit. So there's just a bunch of
I love it.
disc throwing.
I love that the British guy is like the only guy in the movie who's totally unbothered by Stratos and not intimidated at all.
Right.
And he's like opening his mail and like reading his like letters and things and just like, you are just an idiot. It's really good.
And he was never phased by the gunshot. You know, normally someone who would see that, I'm like, okay, you're hurt. But that's the way how he's like. He's like, okay, you're hurt, but it's a gunshot wound.
Right.
So you should be like, oh my gosh, wow, how did this happen? That doesn't just happen.
Of course, my lad. Come with me.
Yes. My wife's a nurse. Blah,
That
blah,
must
blah.
have been quite a wedding.
Maybe that's the British way, or I don't know.
Yeah. Well, he's an Imperial in the Star Wars sense. You know, you get that feeling.
Mm-hmm.
We cut to Nikki in bed having breakfast. This bedroom is Nuts. And she's being brought close by Cynthia. Man, this place. She says she's given Mark penicillin, but he needs professional care. Nikki says, well, let's take him to the hospital. And Cynthia says, well, there's a good one in Athens. We can go there.
A wonderful British hospital.
This is a British hospital.
Ah, yes.
Yeah, so that's how you know it's good.
Bunch of snobs.
These filthy locals.
She says, don't worry, Anthony will take charge. He always takes charge. You can trust him completely, which is always not suspicious when you start saying, you can trust him completely. Don't worry, you can trust him. And yet she won't let Nikki see Mark. So what's going on here? We now cut to Anthony, who is spying a boat via a brass telescope. The boat looks awesome. Telescope looks awesome. The house looks awesome. Nikki comes out, and Anthony quickly changes the subject. Says it's very good. We're going to Athens. Yes, let's go have lunch. Yes. He says tonight is the festival of King Minos, and everyone goes crazy. So it's good they're going, and she can trust Cynthia completely.
I thought that was hilarious.
That was really funny.
Oh, you can trust him completely. Oh, you can trust her completely.
Yeah. Cynthia, I think, is wasted.
Okay, let's talk about that.
What's going on?
This killed me.
This is like a night and day difference between where she was earlier and where she is now. And
Because before she's like so snooty and like, oh, the Hendersons, they're so tacky little people, blah, blah, blah. And then she comes and is like, hey, what's happening?
She is upset that they're there. I can't make friends with people here. And she keeps bringing up a Madame Habib, asking how she was even received sailing around the world in that huge yacht.
I was expecting some racist things to start coming out. I mean, she was kind of talking.
Yeah, I know.
In a Disney movie, they would be. Yeah. Anthony's trying to get her to be quiet when she starts talking about Habib, and they just start fighting in front of Nikki. Essentially,
you can trust her completely, unless she's been drinking.
Yeah, right after he said that, Cynthia is so wasted she's going to go away to her room. And she asks for sherry to be delivered to her room. Anthony corrects and says, let's take her up a cup of cocoa. So, verified wasted. Nikki, for her part, finds Mark in a room and wakes him.
Let's go back for a second, because did you not find that the server, who was just sort of like frozen leering over the table in that one scene?
It didn't really register.
Oh, I didn't even notice that.
There's like this, and it's like, it just felt so awkward to me. I don't know. I guess I was the only one.
Sure it was.
Staring, leering.
It's like they didn't know it. Like the direction was just bad. They didn't know what to do. Like, all right, you just stand there with your picture, but the guy's like standing there, like getting ready, like half pour. It just like freezes.
I don't know why they have the scene. I mean, it introduces the concept of Madame Habib, to be sure, but it is so strange and doesn't really have a point other than that. It's very odd. I mean, I thought it was hilarious, but very strange.
Very, very strange.
And the room that Mark's in, that's a red room.
Oh boy, it's a red room.
His pajamas match the sheets. I mean, it's
oh man. Well, Mark says he feels peculiar. I wonder if that is the color of the pajamas and the sheets and everything. But he says Lady Cynthia gave him a couple of shots. Nikki starts to talk about Madame Habib and how much Cynthia's talking about her, and Mark gets up and is agitated. Well, he says this will explain everything. He says he has to get out of this house and go back to the village. There's a lot of we've got to leave. We can't leave.
Why do you want to leave? I don't have time to tell you why.
Right. He says Madame Habib is a multimillionaire of dance hall repute. She'd be the perfect customer, as the jewels are too well known to sell on the open market. Nikki says, well, you got to stay in bed. She'll go and check if the yacht is indeed the Minotaur, Madame Habib's yacht. Mark gets up to get dressed anyway and collapses. One of many Mark collapses in this film. Nikki goes and looks in the telescope, verifies that it is indeed the Minotaur, but Anthony catches her and starts talking about a fort. Look at this fort over here.
Hey, boys, old Spanish fort.
Did the Minotaur? It didn't look to be that nice of a ship. It
I don't
kind of
know.
looked kind of a bit run down. I mean, it was big,
Yeah.
but if you looked closer, you could see like, I think they just kind of tried to put a fresh
not
coat of
young.
paint on something.
Yeah. Look how big it
64
is.
standards.
It's not what I would have expected that someone named Madame Habib would be, riding around the world in.
Would that make sense for her to be riding around in a big old boat that's like has a fresh coat of paint on it? And
And maybe it was a long cruise and they hadn't gotten to port yet.
yeah, that's true.
I just love the idea of this woman just sailing the world permanently, just constantly at sea.
Getting jewels. Well, Auntie's getting to the house. She's very relieved to see Nikki. And we cut to Mark getting taken out unconscious on a stretcher with Nikki and Auntie. They're all leaving now, so they're going. I didn't know that Mark was that bad off where he needed a stretcher, but anyway, they're going to load him onto a hearse, which this hearse, I mean, what is that from like the 1920s or something? It's incredible.
It's like
Yeah.
Incredible.
It's like Sunset
sweet.
Boulevard.
Yeah, real Gothic or Victorian vibes. It's, where did they find this thing?
I mean, it looks like something they just unhitched from a horse and then put a motor in it.
Yeah. So, they're gonna go. They're gonna go get help for his gunshot wound, which has been festering for I don't know how long. But don't forget that festival of King Minos. The hearse ends up like going right through the parade of the festival of King Minos, and all of a sudden we're in Live and Let Die here.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, this stuff is incredible. There's like all these people in masks running around and like throwing confetti like in their faces and like grabbing them. And I don't know. Does anybody have any impressions of this festival?
No, Live and Let Die. That's a very good call. It is very much. And I was like, why did the driver have to end up right there?
And the
just
driver's like,
seems
oh no.
So
going
avoidable. Yeah.
But he's so put out by it. But it's like, God, dude, you knew this was going to happen.
But I recognized the actor. Did you guys, anybody recognize the actor?
No.
That's Steve Plytis, who was the in 1989 Batman, the doctor, the Joker, the doctor that the Joker goes to at the very beginning.
Oh.
Same guy, and he was also in it was in Faulty Towers. He played Kurt, the Greek chef who gets drunk and hits on
Oh,
Madeline.
no way.
Oh, wow.
Same guy.
I thought you were going to tell me it was Vito Scotti again. The hearse gets stuck behind a float, but Mark has been faking this whole time. And he gets up. He says he thinks Cynthia was trying to drug him, but he found some pills and he feels fine now.
Which
That's
I
how it
was like,
works.
wait a minute. What?
I think-
Wait a minute.
yeah.
Popping pills.
Like I found some pills in his
Straighten me out.
in his
Yeah.
bathroom, and now I feel fine.
But it's just as quick as the nurse lady, as she went from like being straight to being drunk. He's like being from like unconscious to boom. He's like wide awake.
Ah, but he was acting. He was acting the whole time.
That's
Except
a
for
wake
that
up
time
juice.
he was unconscious by himself in his room. Anyway, he tells Nikki to get to Athens. He's going to get back and try to stop Stratos. Well, Nikki is upset. Says she doesn't want him to get hurt. And they have a big old smooch. And then Mark is off. Nikki signs a letter to Auntie that she's off to go with Mark on the hearse's window with lipstick. And indeed, both of them are going through the streets, getting stuck in dances and bands and being hoisted on shoulders. A great little montage of all that.
Again, a little bit Dr. No kind of thing going on.
Yeah.
Yep.
Mark hops on a bus. Nikki's just running the streets but can't get there. At which time she spots the Minotaur on the move. So some people she's on a dock. She sees some people come up to the celebration on a boat, and she goes and snatches the boat and takes off after the Minotaur.
Sneaky, man.
Man,
She's taking no prisoners.
her boat driving it's another Lebowski moment. I'm just like, whoa. get some more of that rear projection of her getting drenched in the boat. I mean, this boat has like a windshield, but somehow this water's just going all over her.
There's somebody else off the side just throwing water on her.
She goes up to the Minotaur and asks him to stop the boat. And man, the funniest moment of the movie, maybe behind the cats, but I laughed out loud because didn't remember seeing this before. A guy on the crew just has a white T-shirt that says Minotaur.
Yes, my
in
notes.
Black letters.
We need to like print those and sell them.
It's amazing. I laughed out loud. Yeah, this is like, it's like he kind of appears like, this is Minotaur.
He looks
Dude,
like somebody
never wear
from-
the shirt with the name of the boat on to when you're on the boat. Come on.
Yeah, come on, man. Don't be that guy.
He looked like he could have been on the Love Boat though, and he just happened to have that shirt on. It's like, all right, grab that guy.
Right. So they're trying to figure out if they should stop, but Nikki goes around to the front of the yacht, going whoop 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 whoop, just going around in circles. Such an interesting tactic, but it does work, and she gets them to stop. The captain of the boat, presumably, enters an elaborate chamber with a cheetah, and we finally see Madame Habib playing with her jewels. She says she doesn't remember a young woman in the arrangements, but bring her on board and we'll see. Guys, Madame Habib?
Baller, man. They got the pet cheetah.
Yeah,
I
that's
read
pretty cool.
that in the script, she was just supposed to have a Siamese cat, which very spectre-y, I guess.
Yeah.
But the actress was like, no, get me a cheetah.
It worked. It was effective.
It was effective.
They were trying to make the cheetah much more threatening because they were like making these like tiger sounds.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just like a big kitty.
Nikki comes aboard. Madame Habib questions her. Nikki asks if she's going to get the emeralds. Tells her the emeralds are hot. Mark was held up. And she starts to tell Madame Habib everything. Another Lebowski moment. She's telling every tangential detail about what has happened up to this point. I was cracking up.
You're gonna kill the girl.
All of a sudden, she's sneezing constantly. I guess because she got drenched out there in the water. Habib, for her part, seems to be mostly elusive and is asking who else knows about the emeralds. Well, she says her Aunt Frances knows about the emeralds. Where's she? She's in a hearse at the airport. Madame Habib gets out some hooch, tells Nikki it'll clear her head. Take some of this. In her list of all who knows, she says that Gamble knows. Well, Habib says that Gamble wasn't the consulate when she knew him. He was a dealer in antiquities. Something's not right here. And then she says, you know what? You're an imposter. You're the girl who walked through the glass in that crazy children's book into a world of crazy people. And I'm the March Hare. What?
What a callback.
They're really, really calling back to this. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Nikki says, don't buy the emeralds. Give them back to Mark. Habib keeps giving Nikki the hooch. We cut to Mark as he watches Stratos board his boat again back at the hotel. And then he starts running after him again. Oh, Alexis is out watching. They take off towards the bay.
Again, his arm does not bother him at all.
No.
Those pills, man. He's all jacked up on.
Yeah, he's got like Benzedrine and who else knows? Yeah. Well, Stratos ties his boat and pulls up the cache from the bottom of the bay with a rope. We finally see the goods, kind of. Mark looks on and jumps Stratos as the boat takes off after he jumps a bunch of boulders again. And fight. They're both fighting with the boat on at high speed, which was cracking me up.
Mm-hmm.
Thunderball.
The Thunderball, totally. Yeah.
Man, yeah. Alexis has made it at this point. He's watching these two duke it out as the boat careens out of control. A lot of falling over, grabbing the emeralds, punching. A lot of, like, both of them holding, like, one person holding the emeralds and the other person grabbing their wrist and, like, Jumping on top of each other a lot.
Yeah, it was a lot of professional wrestling kind of acting.
Yeah. Boat hits some rocks. Mark is thrown from the boat. Stratos starts to like...
Whoa.
Yeah. Stratos starts to like runs on Mark with the boat, but Mark like dives and dodges the boat. Again, no seeming shoulder issues whatsoever at this point. Stratos grabs his harpoon, comes from another pass, and throws it. Alexa sees this, runs off towards the village. Well, when he gets back, the hearse pulls up and he says, "For crying loud out!"
I thought I'd heard him wrong. And I had to go back and hear the
No.
Take it easy, Paco.
They have a policeman somehow, which, how did that happen? They all head out to the bay. Habib has Nikki and the cheetah is in a chair. Nikki says she feels far off, loft and softy.
Oh, okay. So with our Lebowski thing, is that Jackie Treehorn?
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Okay. Just want to make sure.
Yes, absolutely. Oh, the captain comes in and says they've dropped anchor off the Bay of Dolphins.
So this captain's giving me like a Leslie Nielsen vibe,
Yeah,
big
yes.
time.
Yes, he does. Habib puts Nikki in the bar, which is its own like closet, another cool place. The captain escorts Stratos in. Cheetah doesn't like Stratos.
Cheetah knows.
Habib and Stratos do a dance of show me the jewels. No, you show me the money. Oh, no, show me the jewels. The emeralds are truly magnificent, part of the Turkish ransom.
Ooh.
Stratos says he wants the money now. Habib says he doesn't even know what he's holding, but okay. She goes to get the money, and all of a sudden Nikki's about to sneeze, but instead she hiccups, and that brings some more glaring.
Wake up.
Somehow Mark and Auntie and the policeman are getting on the boat at this point. And Stratos has found Nikki and is throwing her around the room, which is uncomfortable. Mark comes in and steps on the cheetah. He like comes over the cheetah at his own peril.
For real. I mean, it's, the cat hive mind during the making of this movie must have been on full alert, because all these cats getting thrown around and stepped on.
I mean, I wouldn't be messing with a cheetah. I'd take a wide berth. And more jumping on Stratos. So anyway, Habib is back. It's all chaos, during which Nikki grabs the emeralds, shoves them right in Mark's face while he's getting wailed on. The emeralds break. Nikki gets knocked out. Then Stratos gets knocked out. And then the gendarmes get Stratos. The police tell the Minotaur to turn around. And no one leaves the ship. Stratos says the stars can't lie. And Habib has her real Norma Desmond moment. Everyone lies when it serves their purpose. Even the stars.
I love that Habib is like, the police are like, you will turn around. And she's like, of course, we always do everything legally. Everything the police say.
Very Star Wars to me.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like, something that would happen. Yeah.
Of course. Or something.
Yes. I always, or like Watto. I always do what the authorities say. She sits down and says, I've lived through 2 wars, 4 revolutions, and 5 marriages. Nothing like this. Is it that crazy? I mean, it's crazy, but it seems like Habib has seen a lot of stuff.
She's seen some stuff. Yeah.
And this was just like 15 minutes of her life. I mean, is it? I don't know.
A crazy girl, you know.
Mark says to Nikki, of all the pig-headed persistent pests, and then he smooches her again. And Auntie comes in and meets Habib. Habib is serving dinner, so she's so upset and she'll have hers in bed. It's just a really weird wrap up here. Like,
it is.
It's like, Mark asked if the Countess of Fleet would like her pendant. She was trying to keep her pendant. She gives it back, saying the Countess was a close friend. Habib leaves. The cheetah leaves. Alexis calls from a small boat, says, "Y'all come back now! We might have a nice big wedding, maybe. Maybe." And so the Minotaur takes off, leaving us all confused and happy on another great trip around the world. And so ends the Moon Spinners.
We'll come back soon, Alexis. Goodbye.
Goodbye. We'll be back.
You come back. We have a nice big wedding, maybe.
Maybe. Bye.
Goodbye,
Bye.
Alexis.
Be careful.
Bye-bye. Goodbye, Alexis. Goodbye.
Yeah, the ending. I mean, I got excited. They got the Consulate. They got Cynthia. Cynthia I was really excited about.
Yeah.
And we get to
I was into
Habib. I was
Cynthia.
like, okay. And then they just squandered it. Like Cynthia. Cynthia was there for like 10 minutes and she was gone. She could have been there through the end for my book.
She could have saved the day in the end. You never know. She could
Yeah.
have come through.
She could have taken one of those wake up pills, gotten over a hangover, and been out there.
Instead, they just threw a lot of cats in the air, metaphorically.
Yeah, they really did. It's just like, I feel like a lot of these movies are like, how are we going to get out of this in like 2 minutes? We got 2 minutes to end this movie. So
Yeah.
let's go.
You think they wrote like a 3-hour script and then the producers looked at it and said, we got to cut this down.
Maybe.
Have no wrap up, no
There's nothing. No denouement.
no denouement.
Yeah. Andy, you're being silent, but I know that's what you feel like. It just bottomed out.
absolutely. It did. It in fact, it got so bad that it became tough to watch there near the end. I was like,
It really
okay.
did for me too. Yeah.
That's when I really started checking the clock. I'm like, all right, how much more do I have of this?
It's weird because, I was enjoying it so much. And even, it's like I thought Habib and her place were interesting, but they just they wasted her.
Mm-hmm.
And those scenes with her were just like, okay, like, what are we
Just like
doing?
Chaotic neutral character.
Yeah, right.
Of just like, whatever. But yeah, I felt the same way. I mean, I was super into this movie, and then sort of towards the end, I really kind of checked out a lot. And you get to Habib, and you're like, well, this is going to be interesting. But then she's funny, and I love her reactions to things, but she doesn't really do anything, you know?
Yeah. Guys, you got to end strong. End strong.
Gotta have that button. There was no button. Gotta have the button.
That's right. I think we should rate this thing
Let's do it.
using our custom system of rating for each film. What's our rubric tonight, Robert?
This is the easiest rubric I think I've come up with. And I knew it before we even watched the movie, before I even seen the movie at all. It was going to be glares. So.
Yeah. This was one of the first things I watched on Disney Plus because I'd never seen it before that, and I just kept sending you screenshots of all the glares. You're like, we got to watch this one, man. Now I can move on to fully just being behind those Callaways. That's my next.
Oh, yes. Yes.
Okay, let's talk plot and writing here. This is going to be interesting. 1 out of 5 glares. I'm going to go to Andy first. What do you give this?
Oh man, I was hoping you wouldn't come to me first because it started off like 3, then started creeping up to a 4. I was like, oh man, this is going great. And then, like I said, it just nosedived for me. So this may be a little harsh, but I'm gonna go with a 2 on the writing.
Whoa. Let's go to Michael.
Again, I agree that it is a tale of 2 movies. I'm going to give it a 3, a high 3, even at that, because I thought the script was interesting and funny and had a lot of interesting bits of business, but it's like at the end they were just like kind of threw up their hands.
Yeah, it's going to be a 3 for me because I thought the premise was very great, but it eroded into it. But in the end, there was enough stuff at the beginning to keep it from going into the negative territory for me. Although, I mean, God, what a wasted opportunity. I feel like, again, if they could have made Mark the heel or any number of different avenues they could have taken to save their bacon. Instead, it's just like a player, like a sports player running out of gas. It's like the writer's room. It's just like, I don't know what to do. Let's just have them come on the boat.
Yeah, just
and
have everybody
them,
show up at the same place.
And then like the police come and arrest them. Okay. Anyway, that'd be a 3, like very neutral 3 in the end for me. Robert?
Yeah, I kind of teetered back and forth on a 3 and a 2. And I think I'm going to go with a high 2 on this one. Third act didn't, I mean, really, yeah, it just made me just lose interest in the movie completely. So
yeah, I mean, part of me wants to give it a 2, but I'll stick with my 3. All right, we're going to casting and acting. I'll throw it back to you, Robert. 1 to 5.
I didn't have any problem with the acting. I mean, the cat method acting was good. Alexis kind of grated at me a little bit. I thought he was a little over the top. But I think overall I'll give it a 4. I mean,
I'm gonna stick with my 3 here because I didn't feel like, I don't know. It just didn't. Yeah, I feel pretty neutral about it, I guess, in the end. Maybe I could give it a 4, but I'm going to give it a 3. And we'll go to Andy.
Yeah, I'm with you on the 3. I don't think it was bad, but I didn't think it was stellar. So I'm feeling very neutral as well.
Okay, Michael.
I'm giving it a 4. I enjoyed chaotic Hayley Mills, and the male lead, Peter McInerney, I thought he was pretty good, and Eli Wallach is great at glaring. And I mean, the only really weak point I thought was Paco, but other than Paco, everybody played it well. I thought.
Hayley Mills is really interesting to me to come back to in this context because I love Hayley Mills, but it's like she's just always kind of the same in all these movies, and it's really funny to me.
Yeah,
like. In all the different contexts of all her characters, she's still like, what? What are you doing? Huh? What is this about? Oh, gee whiz.
It's kind of Nucci adjacent there.
So we got Canoe or Mark here. Who
oh, Canoe every day. That's close.
But you know what?
It's got that sweet station wagon.
Yeah.
This came out in 1964. That darn cat was 65.
Yeah,
that's crazy. She seems a lot older than that to me.
Well, and you look at like Pollyanna is 61, and she seems just like a little kid in that.
Right,
60.
Right.
Yeah, 1960.
Well, she's got such a wide range of age she could pull off.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
She's
blossoming.
She's blossoming.
Yeah, she's very nice.
All right. We're going to production value. I want to start this one off. I'm throwing down the gauntlet here. I know there was some bad rear projection, but I am going 5. I really loved the music. I thought the music was excellent. I thought the location shots were excellent. I thought the interiors were excellent. And if I'm thinking about, it wasn't 100%, but it's an A for me. So I'm gonna give it a 5. Robert?
I'm not gonna give it a 5. I'm gonna go with a 4. The day for night stuff was distracting, but I mean everything else. I guess you've kind of almost talked me into a 5, but I'm still gonna stick with a 4. I think it just missed on a few areas that push it over the top for me.
Sticking with the 4. And Michael, what about you?
I think you talked me into a 5. I mean, there was some rear projection stuff that was not great, and there were a couple of that scene at the Cove where they shoot him, and it just looks like a set from a whole nother movie. But still, just everything else, especially compared to other output at this time, all the location stuff, all the art direction of like the hotel and the Consulate place.
Come on.
and
The hearse?
It was,
What about the hearse?
that hurt. Right.
What about
All the
masks?
festival stuff.
Yeah.
So it felt like a big movie, which these movies don't always feel big. So I'll give it a 5.
And I think, like you all were saying, the rear projection stuff, it just feels like a Hitchcock movie. And so the where the Hitchcock movies, I feel like there's day for night stuff in North by Northwest, and it's like it's just kind of goes in that thing. So Andy, what about you?
I'm with you. It's very close between a 4 and a 5. But since you Jeff and Michael both went 5, I'm gonna balance it out with Robert and go 4. That'll kind of give us a 4.5 because that's where I feel like it sits.
Yeah. I agree with that. At the end of the day. Okay, well, I'm going to keep with you, Andy. Entertainment value. How were you entertained?
Man, this one's really had me at the beginning, and then just that last third just really just nosedived for me. So in the end, again, this is probably harsher than it really needs to be, but I'm going to go with 2.
2.
Yeah,
2.
I'm going to bring it down to a 2.
Harsh. Michael, even it out for us. Come on. What you got?
Oh, man. I don't know. I mean, I was really entertained by this. It lost me towards the end. It's true, but gosh, I don't know. I mean, I was gonna probably give it a 3, but it's a high 3. But I almost want to balance it out, like you said. So I think I'll stick with a 3 though. But what I enjoyed, I really, really did enjoy it.
Mm-hmm. I'll agree with you. I was going to give it a 4. I think cooler heads will prevail. I think about movies like this of like, I don't have to watch the end. You can watch it over again, like up until a certain point and stop. Mm-hmm. But yeah, that ending, man, is just such a dark mark on this one.
It just needed to be shorter. It goes on too long.
Yeah.
It's like 2 hours. And something.
It's like they didn't even need to introduce Habib. They could have been like the Consulate was the big baddie. And and like at the house, all that stuff happened. If they wanted to play it like that. Anyway, Robert, I'm going to let you have the last word here.
So you had a 3 on that one, Jeff?
Correct.
Okay. Yeah, it was a 3 for me too. I think middle of the road ending, middle of the road score. So 3.
Yeah. Huh.
That feels right though. I mean, if you
Yeah.
think about it, the 3, you guys did 3, then my 2. I think that feels right.
Well, let's punch this into the computer that wore tennis shoes. See what this got. What did the moon spinners get? How many glares did they get?
It got 3.31 glares.
Okay.
Bringing it in with a tie for 20th with Bocce Balls at Splash. Got a 3.31 as well.
And Splash just doesn't even register to me. And that's interesting. But yeah, I mean, 3.3 sounds about right.
And coming in just above Darby O'Gill and the Little People Stir-About.
That definitely seems right.
Yeah, that feels right.
Okay. Any final words before we put the moon spinners to bed?
I mean, I came in, like I said, just blank. I loved a lot of what they did. And you were right. And the glaring really had me going there for a while, especially at the beginning, the first act. Like I was sending Jeff pictures in return of glaring, and Hayley Mills was getting some glares in.
Yeah.
So,
I don't know. I wish it had a tighter ending because it could have been so good. And one of the things I was reading about it was they thought at the time that maybe like adults thought it was too kiddie. It was too much for kids, and kids thought it was too grown up. So it kind of missed in the middle. But I like that they tried something different. I really do. And I wish they'd done more kind of stuff like this.
Yeah, no. I like the vision of it. What did Leonard Maltin have to say about it, Michael?
Leonard Maltin said, "The Moon Spinners is much ado about nothing, as it turns out at the end of nearly 2 hours of melodrama, but it's the kind of film that is so engaging along the way that one hardly minds the fact that there is no foundation to the whole effort." So,
Wow. That's kind of agree. Yeah.
yeah, so it's entertaining, but in the end, there's not as much there as you'd like. So,
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Well, Robert, we're going to close the books on this one. What's going to come up next?
So I've taken a lot of heat, even in this very episode. I've taken heat for my my acting, animal acting, and it began with Journey of Natty Gann. I didn't think too much of Jed, the dog. A movie, though, I will add that Journey of Natty Gann got a 3.9 Ray Weiss Smolders, putting it in the top 10 despite the bad acting by Jed the dog. But back to my point, I took a lot of heat because Jed, the dog wolf, who co-starred in the movie, did not meet my standards for animal acting. And ever since, when an animal makes an appearance in a film, as it did tonight, my criticism is often brought up. Well, I felt it was high time I give Jed, the dog wolf, a second chance. So next month is a movie I've had on the front burner for a while. We've had to shuffle it around a couple of times in the seasons, but we finally going to get it in this year, and it's the 1991 Disney classic White Fang, starring Jed and a young Ethan Hawke. So we'll see if Jed sits and stares at his trainer off camera this time, or if he's a little more engaged in the scene than he was in Natty Gann. So who's seen it?
I think Michael and I went and saw this at the movie theater,
saw
right?
it in the theater, yeah.
I think I did too. I remember seeing it. I watched it several times again. I think they showed it on The Wonderful World of Disney, didn't they?
Probably so, yeah.
Or it's either Disney Channel. I mean, I watched it again on television, but I saw it in the theaters as well.
Yeah, I don't know if I've seen it since I saw it in the theater. So,
Yeah, I don't think I have either. Andy, did you see it?
Nope, I've never seen it.
Huh. That's weird.
Oh, well, who knew?
Well, I think it's safe to say that 3 out of 4 society members love animals in film, or at least understand the challenges filmmakers face in directing animals. Where do you stand on this topic, dear listener? Do you hold animal actors to the same standards as their human co-stars, or do you feel like Robert does and they should be held to a higher standard? Or lower standard, perhaps. I don't know. Anyway, let us know on our social media accounts. No TikTok. Medfield Film is where you can find us. Or at info@medfieldfilm.com. That's an email address. For those of you young ones, we still email. We still do.
believe it or not. Are you a struggling restaurateur with locations in Soho, London, and a lovely little hotel combo in the beautiful Greek Isles on Crete? Well, don't turn to a life of crime to keep your businesses afloat. Find you someone that can take the catchy, unique name and make a rock-solid brand out of it. Hire internationally renowned graphic artist Todd Nabrick. He'll set you up with a restaurant sign, logos, menus, brochures, websites. He can do it all. He's a one-stop shop when it comes to graphics, and you won't be out whacking foolish bankers over the head, stealing their jewels and hiding them 1,500 miles away in the ocean off the coast of Crete. No, you hire Todd at Binding Graphics. You'll have your feet up, counting that money, glaring at out-of-towners that come snooping around. But you won't have to worry, because that brand that Todd cooked up for you keeps them coming back for more despite your surly attitude. Yes, let Todd smooth out all your rough edges and make life easier for you. You know where to find him at bydandgraphics.com and on Upworks. Don't forget about the Upworks. Give Todd a call, because he's going to make you look good despite your unpleasant disposition.
All right, so from all of us here at the Medfield College Film Society to all of you, we wish you well. We will see you again soon with White Fang. So long.
Proud are we of mighty Redfield, our mother dear. All your sons and daughters, age of technology. And while we hold your banner high, rock, rock, we shout your praises to the sky, rock, rock, for proud are we of mighty men.